Good evening, and welcome to Squirrel 9 News, your local news affiliate, bringing you the latest updated topics of the following issues: medicine, science, and climate change, technology, sports, and miscellaneous information. I'm Lindsay K. Newsworthy, and I'm happy to report to you from Squirrel 9 News. Our first article, we'll be bringing you 6 stories this evening. And our first one has to do with technology in the auto industry, self-driving cars. Self-driving cars are still in the slow lane. It's 2020, so where are our driverless cars? Asked Katie Metz and Aaron Griffith in the New York Times. This was the year they were supposed to go mainstream, but instead the technology is still far from ready, and many investors are wary of dumping more money into it. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented additional roadblocks. Autonomous vehicle, or AV, companies need at least 2 people in the car to avoid accidents as they test their tech on the street, but social distancing rules prohibit that. The pandemic has also hastened an industry shakeout that was already starting to happen. The typical AV startup spends 4 times as much as a fintech or healthcare and has 0 revenue. It's not just the pandemic, said Robert Baldwin. The typical AV startup spends 4 times as much as a typical startup in fintech or healthcare and has 0 revenue. Excuse me. I apologize for the mistake. It's not just the pandemic, said Roberto Baldwin in Car and Driver. A fatal accident involving a self-driving Uber in 2018 prompted some companies to be increasingly honest about the challenges. Nissan, for instance, has admitted that it's unlikely to produce self-driving cars before the end of the decade, while Toyota has shifted into a more research-oriented strategy that focuses on accident prevention. The rush to be first has apparently been replaced with business plans adjusted for profit and long-term development and testing. Companies are now asking, how safe is safe enough? Much of the business case for self-driving vehicles also depended on a vision of fleets of shared cars that's now in question, said Jim Motivali in the New York Times. The pandemic is making passengers think about the last person to ride in any ride-share vehicle. That's wiping away dreams of robo-taxi fleets or picking up cars conveniently left on the road, parked and ready for the next driver. Self-driving cars will remain very unaffordable for a long time. And if people insist on owning their own vehicles, the financial equation becomes very difficult. COVID-19 may have upset some milestones for passenger cars, said Kyle Stock in Bloomberg.com, but there's never been a better time for groceries or medicines delivered by an algorithm on wheels. In Texas, we're already seeing robots from Neuro ferrying groceries from Kroger. The case for cheaper shipping is stronger than ever. Ubiquitous self-driving trucks could cut at least half the costs from trucking freight. Big investors haven't given up, said Eva Zhao in the Wall Street Journal. Waymo, the leader in self-driving tech, just raised $750 million, and Argo AI expects $2.6 billion in new funds from Volkswagen. Pace-setting tech investor SoftBank is pouring $500 million into Chinese shared ride giant Didi. That fresh boost in capital is going right into testing and developing AVs to compete with well-backed U.S. startups. Continuing on with our technology news. Our innovation of the week is a new smartphone app. This new smartphone app could bring cheers back to empty sports stadiums, said Justin McCurry in TheGuardian.com. As many sports leagues attempt to resume play without any fans allowed to attend, Japanese tech firm Yamaha devised a remote cheerer system to fill the void of atmosphere-sapping silence in empty arenas. Fans following the game from home could use the app to encourage or berate players via their smartphones, their voices reverberating around the stadium in real time. A recent field test in a Japanese soccer arena deployed 58 loudspeakers and allowed remote users to choose rhythmic clapping or chanting options that could be customized for the specific teams playing in the venue. The app does not, as yet, allow fans to question the referee's eyesight. So I guess that's coming in the future. We're going to continue with the sports topic. This one specifically around hockey. Hockey without fans is just sad. This is a news article out of Canada. Okay. Like every good Canadian, I'm thirsting for the hockey season to resume, said Emma Title. But not like this. The pandemic forced the NHL to suspend play in March, a month before the playoffs, and we have endured 3 desolate months without our national pastime. Then last week, the NHL announced that 24 teams will return to the ice for playoffs this summer, with training camps starting no earlier than July 1st. Each conference will be assigned a hub city where players will be confined to secure hotels and practice facilities. Games will take place in empty arenas. The league calls the plan a step towards normalcy, but in fact, it is a step towards self-delusion because you can't achieve normalcy in a profoundly abnormal situation. It won't be fun for players quarantined away from their families, and it won't be exciting for fans. It will be eerie. With no cheering, no hats flung onto the ice, no collective groans, we won't be transported to the time before the pandemic. Many people might find post-apocalyptic style sports better than no sports at all. But me, I can't bear to watch. Maybe I'll listen on the radio to experience the game without the glaring visual reminder that everything has changed. That's again reporter Emma Title, representing Toronto Star out of Canada. Okay, continuing our world news. This is out of France. This is an editorial from Le Telegram. Why can't we work? Why we can't work at home? Why we can't work from home? How can the French telecommute if they can't even get an internet connection? Asked Le Telegram. Ostensibly, 98% of French territory is covered by mobile and internet networks, but in fact, millions of French people live in dead zones, where digital communication is impossible. In parts of Brittany and Normandy, you have to go to the end of your garden, if not climb a tree, to get a telephone signal. In Seine-Maritime, a department of Normandy, a mayor was forced to strike an agreement with the parish priest to let a few municipal employees come at a time to use the internet, which was miraculously working at the church. In parts of Creuse, in central France, people give up and drive for miles into town to get reception. And on the island of Corsica, if you want to phone the continent, you have to head up to one of the mountain passes and wave your phone around. France is supposed to be among the most advanced economies in the world, yet we rank only 12th in the European Union for internet access. As we emerge from coronavirus lockdown and try to restart the economy, the state must ensure coverage everywhere. We can't encourage business creators to implement the ecological dream and settle in green areas if they can't get online. We're going to take a break now. Cut to commercial. We'll return with Squirrel 9 News in just a moment. Thank you. Excuse me. Well, hello, and welcome back to Squirrel 9 News. I'm Lindsay K. Newsworthy. We're going to continue now with this evening's news. Having to do with climate change. Climate change making hurricanes stronger. Climatologists now have clear evidence that global warming is making hurricanes, typhoons, and other tropical cyclones more intense and destructive. Computer models and basic physics have for years suggested this was the case. Hurricanes should get stronger as the world warms because they get most of their energy from warm ocean water. But confirming the theory has been difficult because hurricanes are tough to measure and relatively rare. To overcome these problems, researchers studied satellite images of tropical cyclones worldwide and used pattern-matching algorithms to interpret them. Previous studies have yielded inconclusive results, but this time the researchers expanded the data set by 11 years, using images from 1979 to 2017, and the pattern became clear. Overall, they found that warming had increased the likelihood of a hurricane developing into a major one, Category 3 or above, by about 8% a decade. Almost all of the damage and deaths caused by storms are from those measured as Category 3 or higher. The trend is there, and it is real. Lead author James Cosin from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration tells the New York Times. Forecasters are anticipating a busier than usual hurricane season this year. When Tropical Storm Arthur formed in the Atlantic last month, it was the 6th year in a row that the season kicked off before its official start date of June 1st. We'll return right after this. Thank you. Excuse me. Well, hello, and welcome back to Squirrel 9 News. I'm Lindsay K. Newsworthy. And for our final news segment this evening, a little bit of levity and interest, miscellaneous information from the world. And these are two animal stories. One is about a dog and the other about penguins. A 2-year-old bourgeois sighthound from Richmond, Virginia, has gained a legion of social media fans for her 12.2-inch snout. Eris, whose breed means fast in Russian, was adopted by owner Lily Kamburian from a litter of 3, despite warnings that her extreme overbite would result in dental problems later in life. She drops food everywhere, said Kamburian, but so do I. And to end our news this evening, a trio of penguins, bored by the lockdown of their zoo, were given a private tour of an art gallery in Kansas City to enrich and stimulate them. Our animals really miss humans coming up to see them, said Randy Wisthoff, the Kansas City Zoo's CEO. So he and museum officials arranged the visit to the Nelson Atkins Museum, where the penguins waddled through empty galleries, gazing up at the paintings. They seemed to react much better to Caravaggio than Monet, noted the museum's director. I don't have a photo of the penguins, but I do have a photo of Eris, the 12.2-inch snouted dog. Let's see. So, there's our news for this evening. I'm Lindsay K. Newsworthy. Thank you for joining us. Be safe, be healthy out there, take care. Remember to wear your masks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.